Water 7 and ENIES Lobby combine to create actual masterpiece. One of my favorite parts of this arc or saga is Robin's backstory. And Robin's backstory gave us many unanswered questions. How did Robin get her devil fruit? Who was Robin's father? What was the name of the ancient kingdom? And what happened to Jaguar D, Saul, and Nico Olivia? But what if I told you Jaguar D, Saul, and Nico Olivia could still be alive? This video will be highly speculative, but stick with me as I think Oda may have left some clues to uncover the truth. So first, let's start off with Jaguar D, Saul. And before I get into the theory, can I just point out how much I love the idea that Nico Robin wore a cowboy hat to honor Jaguar D, Saul. I don't know if that's the actual reason, but I hope it is. Jaguar D, Saul is the only non-human with the will of D that we know of so far. He became friends with Nico Robin and Nico Olivia. He was a powerful vice admiral who committed treason against the world government. He captured Nico Olivia as the government was wiping out her allies, and leads to some of the best dialogue in the entire series, with Nico Olivia saying, "You all think it's about the ancient weapons. You're afraid of a past that you know nothing about." It's not even an implication, it's a fact because researching the void century is a crime and most people know nothing about it. While Nico Olivia is in her cell, Saul decides to have a long talk with her right before breaking her out and becoming a traitor to the world government. I can only imagine what she told Saul about the void century, Joy Boy, the will of D, and I can prove why she knows all of this when we get to Olivia. After their conversation, Saul is convinced that they must save the people of Ohara. Jaguar D, Saul says to Robin that he is a gentle giant and that everyone in his family has the will of D, and he also says not to lump him in with the warriors of Elbaf. But more importantly, now let's talk about his relationship to Aokiji Kuzan. It's extremely important, so we have to go into his character, and at the same time they were both vice admirals and friends. So when you look at Saul, he is a character who questioned the Marines and their tactics and justice he was serving. To a certain extent, Aokiji has done this as well. His sense of justice directly opposed Akainu, who was an extremist in every way. Akainu was at the center of the Ohara Incident and was the one responsible for blowing up the evacuation ships. After doing this, he states, "If you're going to do it, finish the job. You must destroy evil at its very roots." Aokiji says, "That idiot, I would never go as far as that jerk." I believe this is one of the first moments that made Aokiji realize and question the corruption of the government. It's one thing to go after people who committed a severe crime, but what about people who are innocent? Another interesting thing about Aokiji is the connection to Monkey D. Garp, another Will of D member. So is it possible that Aokiji has the Will of D? Aokiji respected Garp for turning down a promotion, and Garp says, "I can already do as I like, I don't need a higher rank." Later on in Punk Hazard, Doflamingo says only a man who's made up his mind can make a face like that. Aokiji later says to Smoker, "I've never thought the world government was the end all be all, and you don't have to be affiliated with the Navy to accomplish things in this world. There are some things that you can only see when you remain independent." This conversation tells us a few important things about Aokiji. He's never been loyal to the Marines. He follows his own justice but understands the problems with the Marines and their corruption. And is also a great callback to Garp, who once said similar things about not needing a promotion to do as he pleases. This shows me that characters like Garp and Aokiji could be simply using the Marines as a sponsor to do their research or as a backing so they can break minor laws. Think about it in the real world. Someone like the FBI informant breaking the laws and is swiped under the rug or deemed acceptable because it is under the name of the government agency's protection. So this is kind of how I always viewed Aokiji and Garp. What's even more important to me is the idea that as a pirate, Aokiji is able to do and see things that he wouldn't otherwise be able to. Someone like Jaguar D, Saul and Aokiji, they are now traders, and if the rumors are true about him working with Blackbeard, Aokiji is now connected to some very powerful people. Also another Will of D member. Blackbeard is not just powerful, he's also a character who is intrigued by history. He must know many secrets about the world. Monkey D. Garp is a character who Aokiji owes a great debt. We are still unsure about this, but perhaps it has something to do with them both being characters who are willing to go against the government's best interest. We see Aokiji catch a ride with Garp after ENIES Lobby, and it's also at the same time that Garp is admitting to letting Luffy escape because he's his grandson. At the end of the day, why did I just go on a whole tangent about Aokiji in a Saul and Nico Olivia video? Well, as you know, he was a very important figure in the Ohara Incident, and he also has connections to Saul and Nico Robin. And in that moment when everything is getting blown up by Ohara, Aokiji actually allows Robin to survive. He later reveals that this was to honor Saul's last wish. The first time we ever seen Aokiji, we see him use an attack called Ice Time. So right away we know that Aokiji can free someone and keep their body solid. If it shatters, the entire body does as well, and we saw Jozo get his arm destroyed because of this. When Aokiji does it to Robin though, we see that she is still alive after being unfrozen. Ice Time is one thing, but what if Aokiji was able to use an attack called Ice Time Capsule? Aokiji uses Ice Time Capsule against Jaguar D, Saul at Ohara, and right before we see Saul go down, when Robin escapes, Ice Time Capsule and Ice Time are the moves that Aokiji uses to finish off Jaguar D, Saul. But what exactly is a time capsule? A time capsule is a container that preserves objects for a later date, and that got me to think about a repeating theme surrounding Aokiji's ice attacks. 3 of them involve time, ice time capsule, and Aokiji's most insane attack, Ice Age. I plan on making a video about Aokiji's awakening, including cryogenic freezing. We already know that Ringo is a land on Wano that has a frozen area. It's known for preserving bodies. This could have been created by a former user of the Hiei no Mi back in the day, but the fact that the bodies can be preserved make me really doubt the death of Saul. It's one thing to freeze a dead body, but to freeze a living body for a short period of time may keep him alive. Jaguar D could have been frozen in time. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Aokiji only used Ice Time Capsule on Jaguar D. I highly doubt Aokiji would kill his friend Saul, and it's assumed that he is dead, but Ice Time and Ice Time Capsule lead me to think otherwise. It's heavily implied that Aokiji using his abilities to freeze the ships from moving so that Robin could escape. So if he was willing to let Robin escape, he might have also been willing to let Jaguar D survive. Aokiji was losing his mind after witnessing this event, especially with guys like Akainu destroying even the last civilians of Ohara, freezing the ships and not killing Nico Robin, not capturing her, allowing her to escape, and he even gives her a boat and an ice pad to pave the way for her. So is it really a stretch to say that Aokiji would save his friend? Aokiji is also connected to Punk Hazard, a place that was said to have been frozen by his abilities, but remember that there were some of the biggest giants frozen in Punk Hazard. Could this be another possible reference to Aokiji and Jaguar D? So yes, I think it's a possibility that Saul is still alive after being frozen and preserved by Aokiji. But now on to the next character, Nico Olivia. This really comes down to 3 main reasons. First of all, Nico Robin's father. Second, Olivia's final words to Robin. And third, most importantly, the government needed her alive. I'm not here to speculate on who Nico Robin's father is. He was most likely just a dedicated man researching the Void Century, and who was most likely killed for his crime. When Olivia is deciding to leave Robin behind, we see someone say, "We'll fulfill your husband's wishes." Olivia says that she'll come back once the mystery is solved. So when Olivia is returning in this Ohara flashback, I do believe that she uncovered the mystery at that point. Another way to know that Olivia saw and uncovered the truth is her last words to Robin. "Robin, if you are a scholar of Ohara, you should know that history is humanity's greatest asset. It will enlighten the future that lies ahead for all of us, but knowledge of the past must be passed down to the next generation or it will disappear." Ohara wasn't trying to expose history, we just wanted to retrieve and protect the voices of the past. Our research will end here, but even if Ohara perishes, we cannot give up on the future of the world. Then Robin says, "I don't understand," and Olivia says, "You will someday." This will play back in Robin's head when she finds and uncovers the Void Century. This is because Robin will realize who Joy Boy is and that he is the key to the future of the world. A hope that her mother speaks of is the same prophecy that Roger, Odin, and even Whitebeard are aware of. So let's break down these few lines. History is humanity's greatest asset that will enlighten the future that lies ahead of us. Knowledge of the past must be passed on to the next generation. And she ends her monologue about history by talking about the future. We cannot give up on the future of the world. Now, let me remind you of one of my favorite and most important quotes in Wano, because during Sengoku's history lesson on the rocks in God Valley, he tells Akainu, "You won't anticipate the future if you don't know your history." He says this while referring to Kozuki Odin. And what is the importance of Odin? He is a man who could predict the future. He learned the Void Century. Is the reason that he can predict the future and Wano's future specifically, because he knows the truth about the Void Century. He is able to know what will happen in the future. And there is no more important history than the Void Century. And this is eerily similar to Nico Olivia's dying statement. Roger knew of Poseidon and Joy Boy and many truths of the world. Roger and Odin also had faith in the future 25 years down the line, just like Olivia. The only way to truly understand what fate has in store is to uncover the secrets of the Void Century. And this is why this was Olivia's dying words to Robin, because she knew that one day she would understand when she figured out the truth for herself. Then there's the idea that Nico Olivia was the only person from her crew who was kept alive. Sengoku wipes out her entire crew but makes sure to keep her in prison. And this doesn't just end here, because right before Robin and Olivia reunite, Olivia can barely walk and CP9 says, "Bring that woman." There's one more piece of information that only she knows. We can't have her die here. There's one more piece of information simply mean the One Piece. It's very possible, but I think Olivia could have found the One Piece, or at least knew where it was from researching the Pony Cliffs. She could have known the information that they are speaking of. And whatever this information is, the government may be hoping to torture her and get it out of her. Now quickly, I want to bring up Doflamingo. Doflamingo is a character who was aware of a very crucial piece of information. The sacred treasure of Mary Joyce. Is it possible that Olivia found out about Em and the sacred treasure? I do think this could be the other possibility because it seems like they need her alive for a specific reason. Is it that she's blackmailing them? Is it that they need the information, torture her and get it out of her? I'm not exactly sure, but there are some definite possibilities. She's committed one of the world's biggest taboos, yet it seems that this one piece of information has given her enough power to at least bargain for her life to be spared. And finally, there's a moment where Saul finally meets up with Olivia and Robin. She says, please take care of Robin, my daughter, and make sure she escapes from the island. I still have things to do here. So it's made clear that there was one final thing Olivia had to do, but what was it? And honestly, I'm not exactly sure. You can make an argument that this was something to do with her husband's wishes. And now for the last point as to why Nico Olivia could be alive, I would like to shout out a channel named Animaniac. His video actually got me thinking a lot about Nico Olivia and how she could be alive. And when rereading the Ohara Incident, it really got me thinking. He points out that Nico Robin is never actually confirmed to be dead. So take that as you will, but maybe it's just Oda not having the balls to kill off a character, but I do find it strange because combined with everything that I previously brought up, I would like to add that Oda usually just straight up kills these characters in flashbacks. For example, we've seen Hero Look die, Bellamere, she gets shot in the chest, but with Olivia is up to interpretation. This video also points out a bit of speculative evidence. Actually, I think this could definitely be Nico Robin, but there's a scene in Water 7 where the Straw Hats arrive and Luffy and Usopp are goofing off, and we eventually see the people wearing masks in Water 7. In this scene, the people wearing masks are in groups, but then Nami isn't all of this one particular person wearing a mask. This one person is different from everyone because he or she is alone, and the entire anime zooms in on the face of the one specific person for like 2 seconds. And what do you know, it's a character with blue eyes, greenish blue pupils, white hair, and the same nose structure as Nico Olivia. But the way the anime pans into the face, unlike the other characters, and Nami's reaction as if there's something about this one face, it could be Nico Olivia. But more likely, I think this is Nico Robin. So let me know in the comments, is this Nico Olivia or is this Nico Robin? I'll link Animaniac's original video in the description. But anyways guys, what do you think? Did Aokiji cryogenically freeze his friend Jaguar D so that he could live another day? Why did the government want Olivia alive, and what was the last thing that she had to do? Do you think she found the One Piece, or did she just figure out the void century? If you're interested in any of these topics, let me know in the comments, hit the like button, subscribe, and have a great day.